Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the Premier League preview. It's back. It's Nottingham Forest at Old Trafford. Joining me, as always, is Mr. Joe Smith, looking resplendent in his festive jumper, his Christmas jumper. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you as well.
Marcus Rashford number there.
It's nice, that.
Yeah. This preview is sponsored by BetMate, the fantasy football app. We'll be getting into that a little bit later on. Are you excited? Premier League football back. We've had all the World Cup nonsense. We've had a bit of the Carabao to give us a little taste. Now it's Premier League action.
I'm very excited. It was nice to have that little Burnley sort of starter, that amuse-bouche down at Turf Moor. I mean, it wasn't. It was Old Trafford, but you know, it could have been.
Yeah.
That was lovely, just to get you back into the swing of things.
Yeah.
You know, when you arrive and there's already bread on the table.
Yeah.
That is what that Burnley
Why
game
don't
was.
you go for a three-course meal?
Yeah.
And, you know, a nice posh meal, and, you know, you'll have, like, the cornflakes or whatever.
Sorry?
Or your Frosties.
What do you mean?
Did you start?
At a restaurant? What? When you say three-course meal, do you mean a travel lodge included breakfast?
All right, yeah.
I love the three-course meal. First meal, Frosties. Second meal, beans.
Third meal, a muffin.
Muffin.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It was nice, like I said, just to get those juices flowing, those Carabao juices flowing. But the Premier League is where it really matters. Manchester United, I honestly think, and I'm going to look a knob if this isn't, but no, because it's still true now. I think United could finish third this season.
Right.
I mean, to be honest, I think we could finish second.
Right.
I think Arsenal will drop off.
Yeah.
I think City will presumably win the league, because why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
But I honestly think after that, it's really anyone's game. Liverpool still aren't at it. Chelsea are way off it. Newcastle, I think, will struggle to keep up for 38, 40 games. Or, you know, I say 40 games because they ended last season really well as well. I can't imagine them doing it for over a year with the form that they're currently on. I really think that there's a lot to play for here. And if it was anyone other than this current Man City team, I would say the title isn't even over.
Yeah.
But obviously they've got such good success in the last few years that you would assume that they'll pull away. But I really do think this is one of those years where something mad could happen. Yeah. And I really do think every single game is massively important for United.
No, I agree with pretty much all of that. I think you're right about the City scenario. I just don't see a way they don't win the league.
No.
I'll be honest with you. I think the fact that they win it practically every season nowadays, and you've thrown in Erling Haaland, just makes it something drastic would have to happen for them not to win it. Arsenal are doing well. I expect them, like you, to have a bit of a tail off. But Manchester United should be in the mix for those other places. We should be in the mix for at least the top four. But once you're in that top four, anything can happen. One player who, if we do have any chance of finishing second, third, or in the top four, we are going to need him to keep up his good form, is Marcus Rashford, the man on my jumper. Again, against Burnley, we saw what we saw in the World Cup in Qatar. A player full of confidence, a player who can get you a goal out of almost nothing. And the goal he scored against Burnley was one of the best goals he scored in the United shirt. I know you can look at the level of opposition, but it was fantastic. We've seen him this season banging in goals. I think if you count his international goals, he's got 12 in all competitions. And I'm not trying to be negative here, only 4 in the Premier League. So that's one area where you can go, maybe we can see a little bit more from him there.
Yeah.
And I think that goes to the whole Manchester United team as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the issue, or the main issue United have had at the minute. And I know that obviously the 6 goals against City is disastrous.
Yeah.
But generally this season I've been much happier with United's defensive solidity and not even defending. Like we've had to do so much less defending than in previous seasons. I know that was a difference in style under Solskjaer, where it was a bit more sit back and counter attack. But under Ten Hag, we eliminate so much need for defending by being very good defensively, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Everyone's better defensively. The forwards are good. I think that's an area of Rashford's game that is overlooked a little bit. I think he presses really well from the front. He was doing it against Burnley. He does it all the time. His timing is really good on the press, and we win a lot of balls back on his side, whichever side he's playing on. But I do think that, yes, he's been excellent this season, and he's doing it for England. He's doing it in the Carabao. He's doing it in pretty much every competition. We're in the Europa as well. But I think that there is a bit of an issue United have had in that with 4.2 expected goals, that is the highest of anyone for Man United, and that's not really high enough.
No.
Like, I'm not blaming him for that, because he creates a lot of chances himself. Think back to that Tottenham game where he didn't even score, but he had 3 really good chances, and he created them all with either brilliant runs off the ball or brilliant runs on the ball. So he's doing a lot. I think we need to find a way of making more chances for our forwards, because 4 goals in 14 games is okay, but it's a goal every 3 games, and you need someone at the club over a goal every other game, let alone a goal every 3 games. I think as a winger, it's excellent, and the fact that he's got 12 goals in all competitions well before Christmas, or what would typically be well before Christmas because we've had a month off, is really good. However, we need someone in this team who has got 7, 8, 9 goals by now. And I'm not blaming Rashford for that, but I just think that's the one area where United are looking and you think, we need someone who's a bit more prolific than this. We need someone who can get us 30 goals in a season, not, pushing 20 if they get 50 games.
I think if we are going to have any success without scoring loads of goals, then, as you mentioned there, we need defensive solidity. Yeah. Now, one person I wouldn't put the word solidity next to is Martin Dubravka. He had his chance against Burnley, and I don't like to be too negative towards Manchester United players. I'm the guy that'll stick up for, Phil Jones when everyone's having a go.
You're
at
still
him.
sticking up for Paul Pogba.
I'm still sticking up for Paul. Yeah, do you know what I mean? I thought Ronnie's interview with Piers Morgan was great. I didn't really hated it, but I'm struggling to find positive with Dubravka.
Yeah,
it was at best a bizarre performance against Burnley, at worst an atrocious one. It was like he was actively trying to give them a goal at one point.
It was one of the worst clean sheets I've ever seen. Maybe the worst. Like, he's coming out for corners that are at like stomach height, and he's trying to punch. Just take it into the stomach, like you can catch.
Yeah.
And then fluffing it, the ball's bouncing on the floor. Casemiro's bailing him out on the line. Then the ball came to him. It's gone under his foot. He has to sort of not clear it off the line because it was a slow pass. Luckily, but if there's any more pace on that, it's a goal.
He did as well, where he levered it at Aaron Wan-Bissaka like he was angry with him. Yeah. Like, I've never seen anything like it. It was like, how's your touch, son? I'm just going to blast this ball at you. For no reason as well. Yeah. And amazingly, Aaron Wan-Bissaka managed to control it. I thought he had a very good game against Burnley, to be fair. And make some of it. But it was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, why have you done that? It was just, listen, he might have been nervous, it might have been whatever. My point is, Dubravka sort of gave us maybe a little bit of a reminder that David De Gea, despite having his faults, is a very good goalkeeper.
Yeah, it was certainly better than Dubravka.
Yeah.
Or was better than Dubravka was against Burnley.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't rule him out as a bad goalkeeper from one game.
No, I wouldn't do that. I'm just,
But it was literally like he'd bet his mate that he would concede a goal. And somehow didn't manage to have. Do you know Joey Barton, when he got done for all those, he got done for like 1,500 betting offences.
Right.
Because obviously as a footballer, you're not allowed to bet on football.
Yeah.
And one of them, he bet that he would get a yellow card and didn't get a yellow card. Didn't manage it. That was like Dubravka last night. It was like he'd gone into a bookies and gone, Burnley are going to score tomorrow night. And he couldn't do it. He tried. But whatever it was, Casemiro stopped him from betting.
By the way, we are saying it's like. We're saying
I'm not accusing him of actually betting on
insinuating that Martin Dubravka bets against himself. But
that certainly looked like he might have.
That Joey Barton betting thing is the most Joey Barton thing I've ever heard. With all that in mind, with the comments we've made about Marcus and goals, and also the fact that, Dubravka didn't exactly cover himself in glory. Let's talk about our predicted 11s. These are the teams we think we will see against Nottingham Forest. Now, Joe, we'll start with yours. If you can just talk us through that team.
Yeah, so it's De Gea, obviously, and we didn't quite get onto it, but there are sort of talks that United, because they extended, I think it was
Delot, Marcus,
Rashford,
and Shaw.
And Shaw's contracts, but didn't extend De Gea's. And the reports that I saw were because we thought, instead of extending it for another year on the current wages, we might go for a more short-term extension that is actually a new contract with massively reduced wages.
Okay.
Which I think would be the only sort of way it makes sense for De Gea to stay at United.
Yeah.
But I've gone with him because I think he's our best goalkeeper at the club. Then Malacia at right back. We've seen it before. We saw it for the last 20 minutes against Burnley. Yeah. I think he prefers Malacia on the right than Wan-Bissaka on the right in the big games.
Yeah.
Then Lindelof and Maguire. Again, I don't expect Martinez to even be sober, let alone ready to play.
No.
And Varane is kind of touch and go, isn't it? So I've gone with those two. Short left back, and then sort of claiming that midfield three that is our best midfield three. Casemiro out of the defence into midfield, and then that front three, which might even be our first choice front three when everyone's fit, let alone when we're still bringing people back from the World Cup. So I think that front three pretty much picks itself if they're all fit. And Antony came on the other day, so his fitness should be back up to where it needs to be in a week's time. And I think that's pretty much perfect. So almost without a couple of changes in the defensive positions, pretty much our first strength team.
No, that is a strong team. I've gone slightly different because I'm not sure
Yeah.
what is happening with Maguire. I think it was a bit vague, Eric Ten Hag, when he spoke about. I think Maguire's not been well or something. I don't know. It wasn't definitive of whether Maguire will be back. I don't think Rafael Varane will be back yet, and certainly, like you say, Lisandro Martinez. I don't think that's even a remote possibility. I thought Aaron Wan-Bissaka did enough against Burnley to put himself in the picture for this game, for the Forest game. I would have agreed with you. A few days ago, I said it myself. I thought Malacia at right back was probably preferred, but I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka might get the nod. Casemiro did very well at centre back. I actually thought Lindelof looked a bit ropey against Burnley, bizarrely, but I do rate him. I've gone with McTominay, Ericsson, and Bruno Fernandes in midfield, and I think we've got the same. Well, we have got the same front three. Yeah. Again, even if everyone's fit, that is probably our strongest front three. I'm not sure that. Well, Jadon Sancho, don't expect him. Garnacho probably needs a rest, and I think when you've got Antony, Rashford and Martial available, you play them. Let's move on to our opposition.
Yes. Before we get into Nottingham Forest, let's talk a little bit about BetMate.
Yep.
The fantasy football app that is, for me, pound for pound, the greatest fantasy football app on earth. No question about it. And we are bringing you a £1,000 pot.
Yes,
that
you can
enter,
win a share of that.
and you can win a share of that. All you have to do is pick 7 players that you think are going to do well.
You can sign up using the code Paddock10, and when you take part in any of the paid pots, you get a free £10 bet.
Can't argue with that.
Can't argue with that one, can you?
Fantastic.
Get involved. Should we talk about BetMate teams? Because you think you're so good at winning money and that.
Well, I have won 250 quid before, Jay. So and you haven't. So
let's have a look at Joe's team. We can all
it.
learn something here from Mr. Expert.
Yeah, David De Gea, because United are going to win.
Right.
Do you remember the time I won 250 quid?
Yeah.
I remember you thought United were going to win, but you put the opposition goalkeeper in your team.
I can only describe that as an act of lunacy.
An act
There's no defence to that.
of narrow-minded.
It made no sense.
Yeah, feeble-mindedness on your behalf. I've also gone with Renan Lodi because I thought he played well against Man United for Atletico Madrid last season.
And
his name also makes me want to go, oh, Lodi, that Christmassy little fella.
Yeah.
Then we've got Luke Shaw, Fernandes, Ericsson, Rashford and Martial.
Yeah.
I think when you're looking at point scorers, Bruno is our most reliable goal and assist machine. So I've captained him. Rashford in there as well, obviously. And I don't think you can argue anything else. Then we'll just pack the bench full of Forest players. Go on, what have you got?
Go over
what
to
absolute
mine.
string of shite have you put together here?
See, I've gone with Bruno's captain.
2 Forest players!
Marcus as
He doesn't support Man United, actually.
No, it wasn't an oversight. I knew what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I think we'll win, but I think there'll be goals. Jesse, I think, will have a point to prove. And Emmanuel Dennis, I put him in because, I don't know.
Because you like the word Dennis.
Yeah.
Because you saw the red kit and thought, Man United.
I thought, if they are going to score anything, it softens the blow, doesn't it? It's one of them ones. Do you know what I mean? Clever thinking. Talking of Nottingham Forest, don't forget to check out the link in the description for BetMate. They've not really set the Premier League alight, to be honest with you. They did have that good result against Liverpool, of course. I think they've got 3 wins this season. One player that's done well for him, and who we've not even mentioned in our BetMate teams, but, it's up to us, isn't it, is Morgan Gibbs-White. He's a player that's sort of done himself proud, shall we say?
I mean, 2 goals and 2 assists in 15 games is fine, isn't it? He's done okay.
Yeah.
He's underachieved by 50% on his expected goals.
Okay.
He's okay.
Right.
Isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's created 21 chances, which I think is the highest in the Forest squad.
But what's that? What does that say? No
That
offense,
says-
they're 18.
Yeah.
And it's very much sort of, me versus 6 mice is who can do the biggest shit.
Right. Okay.
It's me every time, Jay. So yes, he's got the most big chances created in the Forest squad.
I don't know what's worse, right? You saying that or the fact that what I'm trying to read here has been highlighted, so it's like some sort of, one of those tests you have to see if you're colourblind. It's like, I'm just going to highlight this and make all this writing white with a blue background. Go on, son. Read that out.
He's also got the most possession won in the final third of anyone in the Forest squad. Although the Forest haven't really been in the opposition's final third at all this season. So, it's not, the biggest compliment. But... However, they are still capable of beating Man United, as we found out in recent seasons. Let me throw you back to Sheffield United, who I don't think had won a game when we played them. We were top of the league at the time.
Yeah.
They hadn't won a game, and they beat us.
Right.
So, whilst I can take the mick a little bit, this is still a game that United have to be fully focused on in order to not get beaten, because the big problem with Forest was they bought 20-plus players in a transfer window.
You can't do that.
You can't Because, well, one of the main reasons is because you don't have time to get these players settled in, especially when you're buying them up to the end of the window. You've got players who have been there 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 10 days, 20 days. None of them have had a pre-season together. However, a lot of those players didn't go to the World Cup and have basically now just had a pre-season together.
Yeah.
They've had a month off to get integrated with the team, get integrated with the system. I think they're going to be much better this second half of the season. I think this World Cup was perfect for Forest. So United have to be well on it in order to not get turned over it, because I think they're going to be right up for it, and they're going to have players, good players as well, who have now had essentially a pre-season together. So it's going to be tough.
No, it is going to be tough. I don't think you can take it for granted. Those stats we mentioned as well come from Opta Stats, and that's what BetMate use all those Opta-powered stats. With all that being said, let's have your score prediction.
We've got to win. And the Burnley game the other night makes me think we will win, because I thought that was a big banana skin. You know, let's be honest. Burnley and Forest are essentially operating at a similar level, or have been so far this season.
You
the
can
best
see
team,
Forest going down and Burnley coming up.
Yeah, exactly. The best team in the Championship and one of the worst teams in the Premier League are, there and thereabouts. So I think if United play well, United have that intensity that Ten Hag is obsessed with instilling in them, I think it'll be a win. Although I'm worried that Forest will score if our back line is a little bit sort of podged together. So I'm going to go 2-1 Manchester United.
2-1 Manchester United makes sense to me. I'm going to go 4-2 United. I think we will get goals. I think we'll concede, but I think we'll get goals. And I think we'll have too much quality for Nottingham Forest. Get involved in the comments in the chat and let us know whether you agree with myself and Joe or whether you do not.
Are you calling this game the Parish of Nottingham? The Sheriff of Nottingham.
See what I'm up against, right? I'm calling it the Parish,
I've got my
the Parish of Nottingham.
Christmas sweater vest on, and the puns are coming out to play. Okay?
Cheers. The puns are coming out to play. Make sure you get involved with BetMate. A big thanks to them for sponsoring us. Also, on the 30th, 30th of December, me and him, maybe or maybe not wearing that jumper, are going to be in Dublin alongside Adam McCullough, Stephen Howson, and Brian McClare for our event in Dublin, a live event. So come down to Dublin if you can get over there, or if you live near there, you can get down there and support us. We appreciate all your support. It's going to be our first live event as Stretford Paddock. We're looking forward to it. This has been the Nottingham Forest Premier League preview. That's been Joe Smith. I've been Jay Motti. Thanks for watching.
Merry Christmas.